And happy Sunday. This is PFG Live, and I'm Spencer Webb, bringing you the podcast that continually reinvents itself, mostly because it really needs to. Happy Sunday, and welcome to everybody who is in Discord. We have quite the crew, and I'm going to try to get everybody picked up here. Let's see. The first weather report I spot on Discord is from Warren Jones. No, actually, it's from Almost Machining in Arizona, who reports hot. Warren Jones in New Hampshire to the north reports 84 degrees, temperature 29 Celsius, humidity 49%, winds are variable at 3, barometer 30.00 in honor of our guest. Dew point 63, visibility 1 billion miles. Thanks so much. Scott M. in Peoria, Illinois reports 87 degrees, 65% humidity. Thank you very much, Peoria. DBX near the White Plains Airport reports White Plains at 1656 Zulu is winds variable at 4 knots, visibility 10 miles, sky clear, temperature 31. Dew point 20, altimeter 3003. Josh says this was a 60 tool too. You'll never know. Robert Simpson says 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 60% relative humidity in the shop. Too hot and too humid outside, north of Detroit. Bakafish joins us. He didn't give us a weather report. You're behind the 8 ball here, buddy. Warren, we got Warren. Evils is reporting in with a non-standard METAR, but it's basically 28 degrees. Evils, welcome. Analog Champ, who we know as Adam Demuth, reports 88 degrees Fahrenheit and partly sunny in the Strausburg, Ohio. Thomas Hardy is saying it's 23.7 degrees Celsius, 44% relative humidity in Karlsruhe, Germany. Welcome, sir. Quentin Cutie Smiths is reporting from Echo Hotel Kilo Delta. Automatic report. Winds are 240 at 15 knots. Skies is lovely. Scattered at 1,800. Scattered at 2,400. Overcast at 5,000. Temperature 18. Dew point 13. And your altimeter kind of is 1011, which is metric, but we'll let that go. Tucker says it's 88 degrees and sunny in Buffalo, New York. Josh in southern Manitoba says it's 25 degrees, science, 53% relative humidity. Welcome, Josh. Widget Works says it was pouring rain all morning, now clearing, and it's up to 21 degrees, science, sunny in Edmonton, Alberta, Snow Mexico. Protium is here. Welcome, Dylan. 93 degrees and 15% relative humidity. I wish my printers, my filament was at 15% in the Arizona. Welcome, sir. Tucson, to be precise. Robert Simpson, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 60% relative humidity in the shop. Too hot and too humid. North of Detroit. I think we said that already. Unix Carbide reports that it's 87 degrees Fahrenheit and partly cloudy and beautiful in Windham, New Hampshire. And yes, I can confirm we have a guest in the studio today. Please welcome Unix Carbide. Welcome, sir. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you.
Delight to be up there.
And his presence will be completely explained at no time. So, moving on. Who else do we have here? Did we get Protium? We got Protium. Bakafish is reporting temperatures of 25 Celsius, humidity 94%, pressure 1013. HPA, that's, I can't remember, pascals per hectare, at 3 a.m. in Tokyo. Welcome, sir. And Robin is here reporting his filament is 7.5% relative humidity, which makes me feel completely inadequate.
Arthur G.
Arthur G?
France. Central France, 25C, sunny.
Arthur, you're on YouTube?
Sounds kind of nice.
Are you on YouTube now? I haven't switched over to YouTube. So YouTube, who do we got here? First of all, Carl Tauber down in Rhode Island is reporting 85 degrees and sunny and dew point 71. Glorious in the People's Republic of Rhode Island. Chris J. Welcome, Chris. You made it. Nice to see you. James Howe says, of course I read it, Martha. Congratulations, sir. You're the first one. CJ Stevens, 94 degrees and 41% humidity in East Tennessee. Welcome. 88. James Howe also reports 88 degrees Fahrenheit, 44% humidity in Tunbridge, Vermont, over which I have flown my glider. What a beautiful area. Malteser, hello y'all, 25C in Nuremberg and overcast. Welcome, sir. Joel L reports 100 Fahrenheit. That's the highest Fahrenheit today. 27% relative humidity in Chandler, Arizona. CJ Stevens says, hey, hey. Hey, hey. Joel L says, UC is in the house. And don't I always forget what UC stands for? What does UC stand for?
I didn't see it.
Okay. And Max K in Charlotte, North Carolina says 95F and ran out of energy at that point. Oh, UC, Unix Carbide. Correct. Unix Carbide is in the house. I can't keep track of everything, but thank you. Also, thank you very much to Josh for the check on audio, check, recheck, double check. I appreciate that. Hectopascals. Thank you, Arthur. That's what HPA stands for. I knew the PA was pascals. New York Machinist is with us. 80 Fahrenheit in Ithaca, New York, not far from the University of Ithaca and Cornell University. And the Gorge. I bet you didn't think I knew about the Gorge. I know about the Gorge. It's all true about the Gorge.
Yeah, I'm full, actually. Lunch was
Yeah, it was a good lunch.
It was a lot.
So, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why are we here? So, forgive me if I turn off your picture there, Captain. We have a guest today. It's Adam Demuth. This is not a surprise. What is a surprise is the look that John Moses Browning is giving him in our thumbnail. And I think it is completely well-deserved. And what you can't quite tell on the thumbnail on YouTube, because it gets covered up, is that most people don't understand that the historic photo of John Moses Browning is edited, and you don't get to see what's on his lapel, but we will show you what's on his lapel. John Moses Browning is wearing a P1 pin, and we respect that. So, without further nonsense, I want to say welcome to Mr. Adam Demuth. And hang on, I got one more button to push. Adam, hello.
Hello.
And how are you? How is Stroudsburg, Ohio?
Great. Hot. Humid, too.
Do you have any AC in the shop?
I do.
Ah, good.
We have, it's just a 1-ton wall unit, but we keep it aimed so it's not directly hitting machines, and it seems to do well. So I keep a data logger on the important stuff, and it doesn't fluctuate much, so I'm happy.
Excellent. Yeah, this is the first season, the first summer season that I've had air conditioning in the shop, and it what a game changer when it's like this, like in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty nice.
Excuse me, guys. There's a big volume difference between Adam and Spencer.
Okay, we can fix that.
Spencer, if you turn your mic down or turn Adam's up.
Well, we have a peanut gallery for a reason.
Am I sucking all the...
I think it's Unix Carbide's fault, actually.
I had a bunch of magnets in my pocket.
Yeah, he had magnets in his pocket. There's a little R squared there, and a little bit of a change. Ooh, that's a big change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, we'll just leave that like that, I think. How's that sound there, Captain? Is that better for me?
You were louder than Adam.
Okay.
So we need to turn Adam up or turn you down.
Yeah, it's Adam up. We're going to turn Adam up. So, Adam, you were telling me how far is it to Zanesville, Ohio? I think people know where Zanesville is.
I'm about an hour from John, but it's like an L-shaped journey.
Okay. That was a little trick that us podcasters use instead of asking you to do a 10 count. That should be better.
please turn Adam up a hair.
You're getting all we got. Without
I'll move closer.
without distorting. Don't forget that if you're listening on YouTube and you're listening on Discord, they're going to be different. So what you can do on Discord, little Discord sidebar here, is go over and right-click the username in the PFG.Live stage, and you will get a individualized slider for volume, and you can make Adam louder just for you. And that's how to do it on Discord. By the way, if you aren't on our Discord server and you go to our links page at pfg.gg/links, you'll find the invite link to the Discord server, or just drop me a DM. Proteum says, we'll do it live. Well, that's true. And I respect Proteum. Proteum, as you know, does the podcast called
With Intolerance.
With Intolerance. And both Adam and I have appeared on With Intolerance, and it was a good time. But a magnificent work of art, and he handles people that will talk for 3 hours, which I think is nuts. I'm not referring to you, Adam. So, how you been? It's been a while.
Doing pretty well. We had a pretty busy 2023, and I decided I was gonna just kind of make a little more time for me in 2024, and so far I've been doing well about that.
Outstanding. We've enjoyed your videos, and I think you'll agree that making the videos has to take time, right? It's not, you don't just like crank them out. The dirty little secret is that what we do here, yeah, there's a little preparation, and yeah, there's a little post-processing, but it's a lot easier than making full-length videos.
Yeah, and I want to make another pistol, and I saw YouTube made some policy changes in their gun-related content, and I wanted to figure out if there's a way I could do any kind of video, or if it was just not even worth trying. And so I just took the old one that they had banned from the platform and tweaked it, called it art, removed any pictures of complete guns being fired, assembled, anything like that, and it's just machining. And knock on wood, they seem okay with that so far. So
yeah,
we'll see if that holds, and that'll inform my decision on trying that again or not.
And if you go to also go to our links page, I believe you'll find our link to our banned videos page, where
you do have the full version if you want to see more
yeah,
detail. But
I think it's pfg.gg/videos. But if you start at the links page, you'll find it. And again, if you get stuck, send me a link. But we do have Adam's full uncut, including centerfold, version of the video, which I enjoyed greatly. So it's funny how we're connecting in the machining community. We're finding the competitive shooters are finding each other. Oh, there you go. Thank you, DBX. It is kineticprecision.com/videos. And you'll find Adam's full-length video. It turns out that I've met about 5 people through our Instagram/YouTube community that are, quietly competitive shooters, and I think that's really super exciting.
I used to be very into shooting, like in the 2000s. Then just kind of, it's an expensive hobby, and home ownership, stuff like that, life. It just had to get put to the side, and I built my business, and I don't know, I finally feel like I have a pretty good revenue that I pay myself, and it's like I have more free time for myself, and I wanted to get back into shooting. And so the community has kind of shifted in the 15 years or so I spent away from it, and so it's kind of interesting getting caught back up, I guess.
So my background is it started with international style shooting in college, and I shouldn't say that. I started shooting with my dad and hunting, and if I told you that I hunted with my dad and fished with my dad and and learned about competitive shooting from my dad, you would think that I grew up somewhere in the middle. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, right down the street from where Unix Carbide lives.
Yep.
And I ended up as a competitive shooter in college, and then so we shot international style, and then we shot conventional bullseye pistol on the side. There was a club at MIT, and then I went on to when I bought my first house. I started somewhere in there. I started IPSC. I shot IPSC and started with a SIG, and then IDPA, which was an offshoot of that whole scene, and that's kind of where I came from. And I think
I did a few IDPA matches, and I think it was just the club I attended to do it. Just kind of a sour community. Maybe that's shifted. Like, there's less people like that involved in it now, and a lot of younger people. But yeah, I wasn't real impressed with the people I was shooting with in terms of like how nice they were to be around. So I never really went farther than that.
It really depends on the local folks. For me, it was the other way around. I thought the IDPA people were nice, the nice group, and the IPSC people were the fanatics, and they was kind of a little harder to enjoy myself around the IPSC folks. And I
do remember the IDPA people telling me how the IPSC people were wrong and jerks. It felt very I don't know.
I'm sorry. Does that actually
very tribal?
That makes sense.
Does that do you relate to that? Is that like
yeah, you're asking the BSD guy.
You're asking the BSD guy?
Yeah.
Is it
the Unix that came before all this Linux toy stuff?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's Linux versus Linux, Unix, BSD.
Yeah. Well, one of them's a Unix and one of them's not.
Not. It's
I don't know what you guys are talking about. Conflict. I mean, there's just right and wrong, right?
One of the things I did kind of take away from all that is like my gun ownership and enjoyment of it doesn't have to be on other people's terms. Like,
Correct.
I like them how I like them, and I do with them what I want. That's within the confines of the law. And it could just be my thing. I don't have to be in a larger community of like gun people, and that's okay. But
I'm strangely resonating with what you're saying. I like to go to the range on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Nobody's there. It's like that's kind of when I like to go. Yeah. Have you ever attended any big matches?
My uncle, when I was a kid, took me to Camp Perry's CMP match. We did grand shooting, and we did that a couple times, and that's kind of fun. M1 grands are cool, but just I don't know, kind of a neat atmosphere, I guess. There's not a lot of bravado. It's just a lot of old, seasoned marksmen trying to pass on knowledge, and I really respected the kind of atmosphere CMP cultivated because of that.
I had some experience at Camp Perry also. I was there in 1981. I did the championships. I was shooting pistol, and that was an experience. I enjoyed being in that big event, and it was pretty neat. So that was a good exposure.
What kind of really dipped me into guns is, I bought my first house in 2007, and that's when like the rumblings of the financial crisis started, and it really kicked into overdrive in 08. But the machine shop I was working at didn't want to like lay anyone off, but they cut our hours back to 24 hours a week, which almost felt like worse. Because country living, you can always figure out a side job working on a farm or something. I could have made money if I was fully laid off with unemployment, and but to still have to be at work 3 days a week kind of eliminated any maybe side work. But a local gun shop kind of needed somebody, and they described it as light machine work, like pinning muzzle brakes and stuff like this, and gas blocks, and it was like 90% clerk work with just the occasional assembly job and site install, things like that. But it is neat to be behind the counter, engaged with the industry from that perspective for a few years. And I just did that part-time to kind of pay for stuff around the house. But yeah, that really kind of fueled my interest a little more until I got away from it.
So when did you decide to? When did you cut your first metal on your own frame?
Oh, so the actual metal cutting went really quick. We decided to do it, or I did, kind of about October. This is Halloween time. I decided let's go ahead and design and build a 1911. I had just wrapped up all the CAD work by Thanksgiving, and I went through, and when I could, I would build fixtures. Like, I only had to build 2 fixtures for the entire project, which I thought was really good. And then I got all the tooling that I thought I needed ordered. You always need a little bit more. And then in about a week, we pushed the entire project through. Just very concentrated. We had to interrupt a few times for a customer project here and there. But most of the cutting happened kind of a few days before and a few days after Christmas.
Now you're referring, of course, to your current project, right? Your
yeah.
And but
you meant first ever gun project?
What was that? Your first ever time making a frame?
No. Well, making a gun, yes, but I mean, like, I don't know. You can't work in a machine shop and have an interest in guns and not end up doing a little something for somebody or yourself.
Yeah.
There's just always somebody needed a barrel threaded or something, or but I think my first project, probably in high school, I got a 1022, and just you look at all the enormity of accessories you could bolt on them, and just that kind of fun from there.
So in your current project, you started in roughly October, and now here we are in roughly July, and you went from raw metal to shooting the prototype.
Yeah, and it's more or less unchanged. This kind of, I think, is February or so. I did end up doing a lot of bench work on it. I ground off on the surface grinder some of the like mill swarf marks, and so now it's kind of a pretty smooth edges, smooth lines. And then I went through and I did a little more mold stone work on some of the 3D contouring. I was initially going to leave it as milled because I liked that look, but I don't know. The more I messed with it, the more I wanted it kind of polished, I guess. I'm allowed to change my mind.
You are absolutely allowed to change your mind. You sent me this frame, and so
I can do a screen share if you'd like.
Let's start here, and then we can do a screen share. My question is, the top image is the one that we've seen on your video, and that's
the gun I built.
So this is there are many people watching and or listening to this that aren't in the hobby or business. So that top one is a 1911 style frame. In other words, the fundamental operation is relatively unchanged from John Browning's 1911 design. The slide, the reciprocating of the slide, the locking up of the barrel, the basics are just that. Briefly, and we'll do a screen share, and you can continue the details. But the bottom one, what is that based on?
That's what you call a 2011, which is kind of a trademark term. It's like Xerox or Kleenex. But basically in the 90s, some competition shooters wanted to get more bullets into the gun, and they wanted to be able to accept a double stack magazine. So for the uninformed, a standard 1911 all the bullets are stacked one in front of the other, kind of singular file. And then on like something like a Glock, they use what's called a double stack magazine, where the bullets stagger side by side. And so this is a double stack 1911 mag or 2011 mag. And so
okay.
same length and 9mm, you can get 19 bullets in it versus 10 in this one, or 8 in the normal one.
So
so they initially built them around 40 caliber. But yeah, they had to really figure out a way to make the frame wider. And in doing that, they unlocked or stumbled into a really, really huge DFM improvement designed for manufacturing. The way they designed the new frame and grip system takes a very complex, hard to machine thing and makes it so any old 3-axis mill can make a pretty decent 2011 frame.
So one other point for folks who are unfamiliar, you can and I'm speaking only for people in the United States. Anybody can build a firearm, one per year is the rule, I believe. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing out of the ordinary of an artisan choosing to make a firearm such as this. There's nothing crazy or unusual. Some people who don't understand or are familiar with the rules may be surprised by that. So I just wanted to clarify that. And are you an FFL? I'm just curious.
I'm not.
Okay, I am. So I'm familiar with that side of the deal. If I wanted to, if Adam, for example, this is a quick sidebar. If Adam said, "Oh, I got this thing's locked down," and he wanted to start manufacturing them, Adam could go and just fill out some paperwork and get an FFL, Federal Firearms License, class. Is it called class, or I forget what they call it? 02 manufacturer, or it's 07, I can't remember, but basically a manufacturer's license.
I did kind of just curiously look. It's not an intimidating amount of bureaucracy to obtain that.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't really put me out. It wasn't a path I wanted to go down, but I was surprised at how not big of a deal it was.
And for some of our non-U.S. guests, the job of an FFL is to keep records, not to turn those records over. There's a lot of misconceptions about what you have to do as an FFL, and I can tell you that I have one filing cabinet drawer dedicated to my FFL, and I use half of that drawer, and it's not a big deal. And if there's some investigation, they will come to you and say, "Hey, we want to look up this thing." That's it. It's really not a big deal. Okay, so if you want to do share screen, I think that could work. You can proceed. I'm going to squish my picture a little bit.
Can everybody see that?
Oh, you're going to do that. Okay, hang on. I got to figure out how to do this. I got one more click to go here. Stand by. We're doing it live, people. This is how it's done. Okay, you are sharing your screen.
Okay. So this is what we built in the video. This is more or less a 1911 frame. We added a flared mag well. The trigger guard is a little bit bigger, and we have this rail on the front that you could attach a light to. But you take all that away, and it's a standard 1911. And if you watch the video, you see how much time got spent on stuff like this little track in here, the sharp corner of the mag well, this trigger track. So that was all in the broaching. But outside of that, I mean, just a lot of long reach tooling, doing all the fine details, like stuff like this. Just an enormous amount of long reach tooling, woodruff cutters, this kind of partially shallow counterbore here. And it was very, very difficult. And so one of the really, really cool things about the 2011 platform is it separates the frame and the grip into two components. So the grip, some people make a machined grip, but a lot of them are just injection molded. In my case, it's going to be 3D printed. So if you, hang on, Fusion's fighting me. If you hide the grip, this is the frame, and you can see it's really not that big a deal.
Now, who originated the so-called 2011 structure?
Well, the company was STI,
Okay.
and they now go by Staccato.
Okay.
But I believe they were toolmakers. And so what, just kind of looking at it side by side, you still have the rails. You still have kind of the dust cover and the barrel guide area, and the back of it's essentially unchanged. But it just, by getting rid of the grip, the whole thing gets a lot shorter, and it's a lot more manageable. You don't need the silly long tools. The magazine well, all of a sudden, is just a really easy thing to make.
So let's go back to the 1911 for a second. It was very long tooling. It was broaching, shaping. So when that thing was designed in 1911, those problems existed, right? I mean,
yeah. And I did come across on YouTube, it was like an old Army war film of making the gun, and it's like 100 processes. But each one has a special machine. They might have like a 3-foot long broach that they drag through a drilled hole, and that makes the mag well. Then it goes on like a special shaper that cuts the slot for the rails, and so it had all these dedicated machines, and then they'd have like a little tool. They'd drill a hole and bolt this tool in, and it would pull through, and that'd cut the trigger track. And an enormous amount of tooling to produce them, but it actually made them really quickly. And they were sloppy, don't get me wrong, but having handled my grandfathers from that era, they're not great guns, but they made a lot of them very quickly.
Cool. So the 2011 seeks to minimize the use of special machines.
Yeah, and so you just looking at it, it's really kind of a 3-axis project. The only thing that gives me pause is, and I'm going to be changing this up, is just kind of getting in here. You do have to reach down to get a long reach tool in to cut that counter bore, but that could be changed easily enough. Everything else is within the norm of what I do with tooling. So,
yeah, but come on, Adam. What you do with tooling is amazing.
well, I mean, really, I think most people with some CNC experience wouldn't be too put off by this.
It looks pretty neat. And then when you attach I guess we'd call it the magazine track or the lower frame. What are you going to call it on the 2011?
The grip.
The grip. Okay. How does that attach?
Uh-oh. Fusion's not liking me right now.
It happens. K Bonk says, amazing true. Art that makes art. Wes says, it was an amazing video, Adam. Very nice work. Those are nice words.
Okay. So the grip, basically, you have two inserts you put in through the back here. Okay. And the grip kind of slides into the slot.
Got it.
And that locks it all together. We can go back to my screen and I can show you on the real deal.
We're on your screen.
My
back. Yeah, okay. You're live.
So this one's a 3D printed mock-up, but basically it slides out along the axis of the grip.
Yeah.
And you can see the inserts in the grip. There we go. And they lock up in these little slots. And that's basically all that holds it together. There's an additional screw up at the front of the trigger guard.
Yep.
There we go. And that keeps the front from kind of cavitating a little, but not a lot holding it together. And when I first got into them, I was like, boy, that doesn't seem super secure, but I've also never seen a problem with it. So,
Is there anything about that design that John Moses Browning couldn't have implemented in 11, 20, whatever?
I mean, plastic injection molding wasn't super popular back then, but say he made that from casting or something, the grip. No, I think he could have probably pulled that off. But nobody had thought of double stack magazines yet. Then I think
Yeah.
that might have been the other issue. So, but no, he was a pretty clever guy. I'm sure he could have figured something out if there was a need.
Pretty cool. So where are you at on the 2011?
I just about solidified on the overall shape and everything. I'd kind of made some tweaks to the slide. So I'm in the bill of material stage. I'm getting material ordered. So the frame's going to be a aerospace bronze, and then the slide will be stainless. So one thing I'm learning with my current one, which is a steel, but it's not a variety of steel that rusts very easy, is it's hard to get coders to deal with you when your gun doesn't necessarily have a manufacturer. They don't know how to put it on their books when taking it in to coat. So I thought, if I'm going to do this again, I'm going to make a gun that doesn't need coating.
So,
and as a toolmaker, I don't like stainless running on stainless. So I was like, okay, we'll use a hard bronze for the frame and then a stainless for the slide.
I see. There's two things I want to say. The second thing I'll say first. A bronze frame sounds really cool.
I thought it would look really great.
I think it's going to be awesome. And it solves a bunch of metallurgy problems. I think that's really pretty neat. So from an FFL point of view, if I was in your shoes and I took my frame to the platers, I happen to have a very good company that's a couple miles away. I would have to sit there. I would have to hand it to the guy, and then sit down and play Angry Birds on my phone until they're finished, and then I'd have to take it home. I couldn't walk away from it. That's what triggers their paperwork. And that's it's weird, but if you ever got into a situation where you needed something plated and they were iffy, you could say, well, I'll sit there and eat lunch. And also, go ahead.
Answering the Unix carbides question, there's a lot of bronzes for landing gears and stuff like that in planes, and it's usually a high toughness, high hardness bronze with good galling resistance. There's a lot of varieties of it. I ended up with a 729 copper variety called Tough Met 3. I believe under the Ampco family it's M4 or something, and then there's another one, and they all have some kooky trade name.
Yeah, it's also a personality trait that I think is important in people.
Galling resistance? Yeah, yes. Thank you. We have to do this more often. That is super cool. Also, the only part in a firearm that is the firearm from a paperwork point of view is the frame. Is the plate?
Yeah, so technically on the 2011, this is the gun.
Right. And which
I could make him sell these all day long if I wanted. This is the slide, the upper part.
Right. That's just a piece of legal trivia, which is kind of crazy. K-Bonk is saluting your bronze choice solidly. Robin says, one that can be incredibly difficult to machine. So let's talk about that. Have you started cutting on the bronze yet?
I've dealt with that one a lot before. I have a machine builder I make parts for that really likes to utilize it. Because in certain situations, you don't have to like think about gull inserts. You could just make the entire part out of the material that doesn't gull and is hard enough, and it reduces the BOM, it reduces the amount of individual parts you have to design. So this guy really likes to use it for some of his projects, and it can be a little persnickety. It's one of those things that doesn't like high pressure cutting type styles well. So like drilling a big hole, it seems to object, but like a high speed milling, it's not too bitter about it. Tapping, doesn't like it at all. Sawing, not real nuts about it. But most of the milling paths I use, it goes all right.
Pretty neat. And you're used to milling almost anything. I mean, you've been doing hard milling and you've been doing, that kind of stuff. So
hard milling is interesting because you're never doing hole making hardly. Like your holes are already in the near net state. And so where something that's pre-hard, you can actually have a little more trouble because you're having to do a lot more drilling and threading than you would in pure hard milling. And that's, at least with my machine, that's oftentimes the limitation.
Gotcha.
But there's not an enormous amount of hole making on this, and there's no actual threading. So
there's no threading.
Oh yeah, no. Even on the traditional 1911, there's only 4 threaded holes.
And those are the 4 grips.
And that's where the grips go.
Hold together with Loctite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all glue.
We're gonna make a Loctite only version of the 2011.
Yeah.
Evil says, really making up for the weight savings of the polymer grip with that bronze.
Yes, I am.
So what is the how heavy is this going to be?
The density is similar to steel, and I could do design decisions like bringing the length of the dust cover back to save weight, whereas I have a full length dust cover, meaning it goes all the way to the end of the barrel. The reason I do that, though, is if you've ever shot like a full size framed pistol in a relatively low recoiling round like 9mm, they're very good guns to teach people to shoot on because the recoil is so unfelt by the shooter. The gun absorbs so much of the energy. And so I just wanted a very pleasant shooting gun, and a heavy 9mm gun checks that box.
I'm really intrigued. I'm looking forward to. I have a goal. My goal is to come visit you and try that 2011. How's that?
All right. Well, I'm hoping to have it done probably by September. So
okay, we have a plan. I love the idea. I'm sort of playing the simulation in my head of the weight of that frame, and it's sounding really appealing to me.
So here's the other machining perspective. The frame, we can make out of an 1 3/4 piece of bar stock, round stock. It's just very small in that regard. Whereas when we made a billet 1911 frame, this is the size of piece of material we had to make it from. So that kind of like soothes my soul a little more.
Are you telling me, sir, are you telling me that 2011 frame, I have a hard time calling it a frame because it's so little.
Rail.
That rail can be made on a, for example, a dual spindle live tooled bar fed lathe?
I don't think it would have much problem. You might need something that has like a B axis in order to get some of the angles. Maybe not, but I know a lot of so there's a competitor to Williman called Boomotech, and I know they make a lot of block slides on those. So I would not, and if you look at this in a slide, they're essentially very comparable, not only in terms of size, but types of features, like a lot of guide rail grooves and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a company making a 2011 type pistol on a machine like that.
Wow. I see it now. Pretty cool. Bakafish says, Adam mentions 3D printed, but that covers a broad spectrum of technologies. What specific technology is he intending to use?
Honestly, I thought it'd be kind of funny just to FDM one.
Yeah.
Because you always hear about 3D printed guns and you see them and they are rough. I kind of like how cheeky that is. Like, I like how grippy FDM prints can be sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other thing. Like a lot of competitive shooters will wrap 3M silicon carbide tape around the grips just to make them a little stickier, so it doesn't slip out of your hand. And I thought, you get like the right texture and layer width or height on a print, and you use a decent enough filament, I think it could work.
You're the first guy
The
to
way
print a
these
gun
guns
in
work, there's
TPU.
not a lot of stress in this, so.
What was that, DBX?
I think you should be the first guy to print a gun in TPU.
In TPU. So, speaking of 3D printing, if you only had a close personal friend that was doing resin printing with some really interesting resins. So this, I showed this last week. This is called Rigid, it likes my eyes there. This is called Rigid 10K, and it looks white. And your brain says, oh, ceramic, alumina, and then you feel it, and it's like, that's 87% of the way to exactly what I expected. So this is a resin print, what's their SLA printed resin, glass filled, stiffer than you can imagine. And guess who just bought a liter of it to mess with? So there's some possibilities here. This literally, yeah, sure. Notice I handed it. By the way, no, I did not say bite it, dude. By the way, you notice that the universe is broken here. Watch as he hands it back to me.
Yeah.
He's got a wormhole in his office.
I have a wormhole.
Ridiculous.
That's for the future show. Hang on, we're not going to talk about the wormhole. But anyway, this stuff is very interesting, and I'm going to be doing some experimental prints. I'm interested in it for electromagnetic applications to support some high voltagey, high currenty things, but I'm just offering this up as some technology here. Very stiff, very interesting.
I might take you up on that. The only thing holding me back is like a relatively smooth frame with grip tape. I don't have to model, but if I have to like model the texture into the print,
Yeah.
Like checkering or something, that's the kind of modeling that I'm very deficient at. What I call like art CAD work.
Yeah.
Where you have like beautiful patterns and stuff like that. I do like blocks with hole type CAD modeling, and
Well, we could find somebody, because I think in the FormLabs world, I heard something of texture painting. Like there's something going on that I heard and didn't have time to focus on. So I'll see if I could find that for you. It may be, I don't want to use this word too glibly, easy.
like on this gun, I modeled in the checkering.
Yep.
And it about crashed my computer. It did not like it. So
it's funny how
to let some smoke out.
There might be something also in the FormLabs world that takes advantage of the nature of the medium.
Yeah.
Like those grills I printed for the filter, the carbon filter, to make a grill like a screen. You just print something with a hex infill without a top and a bottom. The infill becomes the screen. And it's like very
Takes
with
advantage
the
of just
medium.
the nature of its print.
Yeah, but that's after you're modeled. That's the execution of the 3D print.
Yeah, there's got to be some stuff like that though, with the resin printer where it like has this inherent property that can be taken advantage of.
Okay, I'm taking as homework this whole texture painting thing, because I know it exists and I got to find it, and I will deliver it to you, sir, to your doorstep, and we'll find it. Protium says FormLabs rigid is surprisingly strong. Yeah, there's a couple of rigids. I think there's rigid 4000 and there's rigid 10K. This is the rigid 10K, which I've been lusting after for a while.
I think a white grip with the bronze frame would look really, really flashy. That'd be nice.
Actually, it would. DBX dug something up. He found it. FormLabs, introducing the FormLabs texture engine for texturing 3D models. Add textures and apply displacement maps to the surface of 3D models for textured 3D prints.
You could put those laces right underneath the trigger.
those laces, yeah, that's right. And it would be very. Is that American football or is that a rugby ball? I need to know. Hey, did I say rugby ball? I probably said something wrong right there. I'm digging the hole bigger. I'm going to stop digging right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's definitely an area of CAD I'm deficient at, so I kind of want to look at that as well. That's curious to me.
Yeah, we'll find out. We have to find out. It's required. Wes says, "Didn't you play bass for Wormhole in the '70s?" We all three of us were on that on that team. It was a good time. It was a good time. Proteum says it's a little bit splody when it fails. Well, it's ceramic. It's like almost ceramic. Josh says put FDM layer lines in the resin print. Isn't that 2 steps forward, 1 step back? I'm just kind of thinking that might be what it is.
You know what we used to do on guns a lot back in the day? Like, at the time, Gen 2 Glocks were relatively smooth, and Gen 1 Glocks were even more smooth, but they had like an awful finger groove pattern that no one liked. Or, I'm sorry, I got that. But people would take soldering iron tips and just kind of like burn patterns in by hand. And it gave it enough grippiness and didn't really cost anything.
Well,
and it's surprising how like consistent you can get just doing it by eye.
Part of the artwork from these magnificent gun makers was the stippling on the grips, and the hand checkering on the metal. I had, if I can take a detour here, my 45 when I was shooting competitively was a Dynan. Dynan was a pretty famous gun maker in the 45 world, and I'm sad that I sold it. That was a mistake. But my coach, I bought it for my coach, and that thing was like a Swiss watch. It was unbelievable. So I'm hoping that when I come out there and I fire the 2011, I want to feel that magnificence. Bakafish says, isn't it common for gun handles, we don't say handles, to use inserts? So let me see if I could translate what you asked. So on the 45, there were 2 pieces that went, there we go, that went on the side. Like, and we didn't call them inserts. We called them slabs. That was the slang term. Yeah. So that was the...
So on this gun, because the frame and magazine are so narrow, in order to get the width to where your hand would enjoy feeling it, this is too narrow, they can put like a 3/16 or 5mm thick slab on it. But this gun, the magazine is so wide that in order to get a normal sized grip, they have to make the wall as thin as possible. And the only way to pull that off is to just make a monolithic structure out of plastic or aluminum or steel. But if you were to put grips on it with that wide magazine, all of a sudden it would be like holding a beer can or something.
Yeah, and nobody in America knows how to hold a beer can. That's a very good point. I never quite thought about that. There was also...
What's interesting is, like, to the thousands, this grip module is the same width as the 1911, and the length of the grip module is... But the 1911 is more of a oval, and this is more of like a square or kind of rounded square shape. But the length and width aren't that different.
Pretty cool. Widgetworks says, holding a beer can while shooting is not recommended. You are correct, sir.
I've been in gun clubs with a bar, and I thought, boy, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, this is singularly.
I don't understand who thought that was smart, but
my assistant coach, in his memory, I will pass along this quote. Andy Platis, who was a wonderful coach, he said that alcohol and gunpowder don't mix, and they taste terrible. I never found out why he knew that, but he did explain that to me. Well, that is just super neat. I look forward to more of your videos, and we appreciate you sharing this journey. There's a lot going on in that design, and I can't wait to see the equivalent 2011 videos to what you published on the 1911.
yeah, we'll see if this newest attempt gets taken down. Like it really slows down the project to stop and film it.
Yeah.
So if it's not something that's viable as a video, I don't know if I'll try it. But
My
either way, I get a gun out of it.
Yeah, my opinion, and I'm going to go ask DBX to weigh in on this. My opinion is that video, because in your opening scene, you literally were holding it, and I think there's an algorithm either in wetware or in an AI somewhere that says, "Oh, there's a guy holding a firearm," versus the current one. You chopped out your preamble. That was part of it, and then at the end of the last of the video, which is not to be named, you showed yourself enjoying the results of your labor, and that was definitely going to get flagged by something. And
one scene somebody mentioned is like right after I got done broaching the mag well, I stuck a magazine in it just to like check fit.
Right.
And apparently that is something that they're real not happy about.
I
don't like to see guns being loaded.
Now, just for the record, no guns were loaded here. Everybody nod their heads up and down. Okay. So
I have a no ammo in the shop policy. So
yeah, that's pretty brilliant. Malteser says, fun fact, YouTube delay to Germany is 3 seconds. Is that because is that latency or because they're holding a finger over a button? Proteum Machining says, the first little bit of a video is super important to flagging and monetization. A lot of the podcasts I listen to make sure to avoid any swearing or keywords in the first little bit. And I think
well, they still have some informed idea of what's going on in my video, because it is hands down the worst performing video I have. Like it's just not really getting out there, and so
well,
I'm okay with that. It's their sandbox, their rules. So
yeah, and we're talking to our community here. We're not looking to talk to the universe. Anyway, thanks for being here. Come back when we can spend more time. I think if John Moses Browning was here and saw what you were doing as a extension of his artwork, because he was quite the artist, and I think your take on his art is magnificent. And I just want to say art and artwork and artist one more time.
Art is exempt. Art's allowed. So.
Art's important. My kiddo is studying art, and the art that my kiddo is contributing to is called, wait for it, World of Warcraft. Can we just think about that for a second? Anyway, well, anybody?
I've been sitting here for 10 minutes trying to think of a Sun Tzu joke, and I think you just
did I?
Just brought him, but I can't. Yeah.
That's because you're sitting near my Sun Tzu books. Okay, 25 feet from my Sun Tzu books. Last chance for questions in the chats. We have Jay Howe says, really glad I stopped in for this one. I'm not super knowledgeable about this topic, but we've been making 1911, 2011 beaver tails for a local high-end manufacturer, and it's been super interesting stuff. Welcome aboard. Yeah, that's the beaver tail. Let me give you a little bigger picture here. That's what's called the beaver tail because it looks like, well, a beaver tail. And a beaver tail...
So when you grip, it deactivates one of the safeties in the gun.
Right.
So you cannot pull the trigger unless the beaver tail is displaced. Originally, John Moses Browning didn't want this design. The U.S. Army insisted on it for cavalry use.
Interesting. And
so like his next pistol, the high power, had no grip safety.
Now the 1911 generic, the grip safety did not have that glorious beaver tail. It had a much smaller little nub. So the beaver tail became the extended beaver tail became a nice comfort and speed of grip feature. Yes?
Yeah, the original 1911 sat probably a 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch higher in your hand. Like there is a big swell of material right underneath the trigger guard. And a lot of people figured out, hey, this thing recoils back if we get it to sit lower in the hand, and we'll be able to have the recoil go back into our arm bone and it'll flip less. And they're absolutely right. And you see a lot of modern gun designs go out of their way to get the bore of the pistol as in line with your arm as possible. And so that's what you see with like a lot of modern beaver tails is they're really trying to get your grip higher. But the trade-off there is you're at a mechanical disadvantage for engaging that switch the higher you're up on the pivot. And so some guys, when they go to grab the gun, the void in their palm just does not get that switch down reliably. And so you see like a lot of little bumps added to it to get that. And even then, anyone who shoots 1911s enough has a story of, they draw, they come out.
Yeah, pushing on a piece of concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you got to readjust your grip and then fire.
Well, I think some people who didn't know what a beaver tail is now know what a beaver tail is. There you go. And I'll point out that the beaver is the mascot of MIT, and that's because the beaver is the engineer of the animal world, and the MIT student is the animal of the engineer world.
I see.
It is true. CJ Stevens reminds us to ask you to hit those buttons before you leave. There's a like button. There's a subscribe button. Adam the Machinist has a YouTube channel, also known as Adam the Machinist. And we'll put the link in the doobly-doo after we edit it. Next week, important news. This just in. Hang on. This just in. Next week, we will not have a PFG.Live. I am helping my son move into a dorm for a 2-week program where he will do some amazing things, which I can't talk about. It's totally secret. So I have to help on that next Sunday. So there will not be a PFG.Live next Sunday. The Sunday after that, we will have another special guest. Stay tuned. Robert Simpson says he needs to watch more Forgotten Weapons for homework. Is that a YouTube channel?
That's a great YouTube channel. Host name's Ian, and he just looks at weapons of historical significance, and he's survived YouTube's evolving gun policies. I'd say probably the best of anyone that does gun content, because so little of his movie or his show is about shooting. It's usually just disassembling a firearm. So, and there are times where it'll get flagged and have to blur out because, like, maybe he has to move something to disassemble it, and they consider that, manipulating it in some way. Or
we have a question in the back. You in the back?
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you guys geeking out on the gun stuff, but I was just going to throw in one more endorsement for Adam here. I have no interest or business with guns in my life, and I love your videos. As a machinist and all that, if there's people in the audience who are like, yeah, guns, schmuns, whatever,
I don't think I'm going to be like a gun channel anytime soon. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a curiosity to me at the moment.
Sorry,
I do want to make a barrel.
Distract right as you guys are sharing all of the favorite gun stuff. So go back
Well,
to the.
So one of my favorite books, and I don't know if you've heard me recommend this, Adam, is called The Perfectionists, and it's not only is it a great book, but the author reads the audio book. Look it up; it's on Audible. It's a great listen if you have any place to drive. It's called The Perfectionists. Simon, correct me if I'm wrong, people. Simon Winchester. I think this is the second week in a row that I've recommended this book. And he talks about the history of precision. And the first chapter is about achieving roughly what we would call eighth of an inch precision on a cannon barrel. And then the book chapters go down basically by an order of magnitude throughout the book until you get to LIGO, where he's talking about the width of a proton. But it's a cool book. But the point is that where is all this precision coming from? Things that go boom, and that's just sort of the way that humans have evolved. And Proteum says peer pressure him and Josh to release another episode. Please consider this, Adam.
It is an edit. It's an edit.
Okay,
right now.
okay. We'll allow that because we really enjoy those also.
And Josh might be coming to America, and we might be doing a live episode. We'll see.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I will be all over that. Widgetwork says the Chieftain on YouTube is the armored vehicle version. Okay, if you like armored vehicles, let it rip. And thank you for the link, DBX, to the book. And with that, Adam, thank you so much for taking a chunk out of your Sunday and joining us in that magnificent Hawaiian shirt. And thanks for sending along some great pictures of your stuff and being a great resource.
And me.
And you're live. You're doing it live.
Great photo.
The photo was glorious. So, a little inside baseball. I'm sitting here editing, this thumbnail slide, and I find this picture of Browning, and I'm just quickly throwing things up into the frame on Photoshop, and I fell off my chair because Mr. Browning is like looking at you like, what the hell? It was awesome. Okay, DBX, anything from you? No, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
So we're going to send him back to New York. And
got a compliment.
What?
I just got a great compliment.
You did.
Yeah.
And you earned it. Even though it looks like we're looking in two different universes right now. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for the PFG Live with another special guest. Please please subscribe. Hey, and if you need a flat thing, you can go over to pfgstones.com and get something that is not only flat, it'll help you get flat and stay flat. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.